As Aethe walked into, he took his time selecting what things he wanted to take with him. The sun had been down and the gate was obviously closed on the wall. So he picked out his bow and a case of arrows, and he took his bag filled with a few different plants and his sleeping roll and some rope. He quickly traveled to where the wall as fast as he could, knowing that the guard would be around to watch him. He doing this many times in Sassy's Keep. He dropped down to the other side and ran along the shadows, trying to get as far as he could into the woods. Once it's darkness, he understood that if he was to hunt anything inside the woods, might and Sassy would not be able to help him. Also understanding that Sassy would probably be pretty upset if he killed anything on the king's grounds. Aethe took his time and wandered through the woods carefully about the night's events and the long journey he had been through. This was where he was most free, underneath the stars and the moon, letting the path, keeping careful watch not to crack a single leaf. He looked for the perfect tree. Finding it, he scaled it quietly and sat in it for a minute, thinking softly about the day's events. So much had happened. He's not used to this partying and going about winning. Not used to it at all. But he was glad he won and glad he got to watch so many things. After he scaled the tree, he took out his pipe and packed it with tobacco. After packing his pipe with tobacco, he lit it carefully and took the time to think about the day's events. All that had happened, tracking that fox knight and taking him in, crazy. That's what he wanted to do. He was excited to get back to Sassy's lands, but he knew if he could stay here long enough, he had a lot to learn. Plants and animals to see and hunt here. These weren't the forests he was used to, and tracking them and hunting them. He knew he couldn't kill anything without the permission of the king, but he had a chance. He could get the favor of the king enough to hunt. Taking out his bow softly, he began to load it carefully, just looking for marks to fire at. He looked for the trees. He saw leaves spinning in the air, and he fired one arrow after another, just carefully pointing and aiming. He had missed this. This was what he was good at. This was what he wished upon. As he fired arrow after arrow, he finally came to a stop. Knowing that his quiver was mostly empty, he dropped to the ground and started collecting arrows from trees, careful not to break a single one. He was excited. He knew that he could track these woods and learn their new secrets, but because he knew that his villages and his woods would have many criminals and new animals that would the civilians and villagers. He knew that without him hunting the lands and keeping them safe, Sassy's guards come across poachers and hunters. Now, that's all good and clear that some of the guards get a workout, but Aethe was much more skilled at it. It's much more better if he just hunts them himself. He looked forward to going home and keeping his woods safe, but at the same time, he felt this longing, this pull to explore the rest of the world. He'd been in his own world across the wall, and he had seen so much there. How much more could he see here? How far could he go? He didn't much have a care for boats. He didn't want to ride on any of them. But he did look forward to seeing the rest of this world. There's so much more he could see. So many more art. And see if anyone threw a better axe than he did. Flicked a better coin. Seeing great creatures, he knew more must exist. The direwolf was such an amazing foe to fight. There must be more that people don't know. More creatures to fight. More bears. Stronger beasts to kill. Aethe knew that he had discovered a farther point of the kingdom that he had never been to. There was more to discover. And knew that he would hunt, that he would find, and that he would keep those he loves better safe.